Hello everyone, welcome back to a couple books. This is Couple as per always. Yes. Yeah everyone. Yes. Shh. Shh. No you shush. No you shush. What did you say to me? Excuse me? Anyways, let us get into the exciting news for today's video. Do you guys like to be up close and personal like we are right now? I hope you guys enjoy it. Today we are doing the drawing of the name from the raffle. So this is very exciting. We have it in a Santa Claus hat because how else would it be done? This is the most proper way for it to happen. In this, I don't know if you guys can see, there are the names. They're all curled up on pieces of paper. And this is from the people who commented on my video where we announced the raffle. So I am super excited to be drawing a name from this. I'm shaking it in case you're wondering why I'm vibrating. Okay, so we're gonna pull a name, and then whoever wins, you need to email me at acouplebooks@gmail.com in order for us to discuss the book you're getting. So we're pulling the first name, boom, and you guys are gonna see it first before I see it. Oh, Jen. Okay, Jen, you know what to do. Email me, and then we will discuss you getting the book. So with that being said, let's go back into the hat, and there we go. So that is the book giveaway. So thank you guys so much for participating. I'm so glad we passed 100 subscribers, and I wanted to do this to share my love. So please be sure to participate in the next book raffle as soon as it happens, and thank you guys so much for commenting and participating. So anyways, now that that's out of the way, let us get into what today's video is all about. Today we're doing the January TBR. What are we going to read in January? So if you guys don't know, I'm a mood reader, so that means that usually I succeed and don't succeed in my TBRs. But I continue to make them because there's going to be a day where I just do all my TBRs. And these are just also to kind of catch you guys up on what I am ambitious and what I want to read, even though I try and get to all of them, but they don't always all happen. So with that being said, let's get into the TBR. Yeah. Okay, that was weird. Apologize. The first book is going to be Armageddon Children, which is part of the Genesis of Shannara series by Terry Brooks. This is a prequels, okay? Does that make sense? So basically, if you guys don't know, I think I talked about it earlier on this channel, but I wanted to get into Terry Brooks. I've already read some of his series, but basically he's got this massive world called Shannara, and it's all broken up into trilogies. His first 3 books, which the first one was The Sword of Shannara, is the first book to introduce the world of Shannara. This world is basically a super post-apocalyptic, is that how you say it? I don't know. World of Earth. So basically, whatever reasons, you have to read to find out. Earth was destroyed, and thousands of years later, because of mutations and stuff, we have the typical Tolkien fantasy world. Long story short, this series is the prequel. So this takes place, this trilogy, prior to the real Tolkien-esque era of the Shannara world, and this takes place in roughly right after the apocalypse has started, and we are introduced to our main character Logan. Logan is basically tasked to go find someone who is born of magic to basically help them fight against the epic darkness that is coming. And Logan meets a ragtag group of followers, he meets some orphans, he meets a variety of people on his journey, and he's going to go out and find that person who's born of magic to help him fight this epic battle of good versus evil. So I'm super excited. I've never read this trilogy before, so I'm excited to get into it and then thus kick off my Shannara series readathon that's happening this year. It's not a readathon, but I'm just doing it. So if anyone else wants to join me, you're more than welcome to. So there we go. So the next book I'm going to pick up is The Bloody Rose by Nicholas Eames. This is a parody on D&D and rock bands. So basically Nicholas Eames writes a series of these bands of people who go on world tours, and on these tours they go around and they kill monsters, and then they bring their corpses of the monsters back to basically claim rewards and receive fame and glory and all that good stuff. In the first book, we followed a group of old guys who had retired from the monster business. They were like the OG Monster Squad, and they had to get back together to save one of the band members' daughter. In this one, we are introduced to a new band, and I do believe it's one of the children of one of the main characters from the first book. So I'm excited to pick this up. If you like monster slaying, if you like all that stuff, pick it up. I'm really excited. I really enjoyed the first book. The next one is Dead Man in a Ditch, which is by Luke Arnold. This is the sequel to The Last Smile in Slender City. I read that also this last year, and The Last Smile in Slender City was super good. It was a debut novel, just like most of these will be. This is the sequel to it, where basically we now have met Fetch Phillips. Fetch Phillips is a man, a typical everyday human, who lives in a world where magic has ceased to exist. There's no more magic in the world. So all the creatures that used to run on magic, such as vampires, ghouls, dragons, anything you think of that was magical has lost its magic, and they're either dead or dying now. And so in the first book, Fetch is out there and he solves crimes for these dead and dying people who no longer have magic. And we also start to learn some of the reasons why magic ceased to exist in the first book. I'm hoping that in this book we're going to continue that journey, figure out what happened to magic, and see what other cases Fetch might be picking up. But if you're into like Dresden Files and that kind of stuff, I highly recommend picking this up. It's kind of like Dresden Files, but set in like a more medieval time period. Like more like early industrial era period time. Yeah, that's a lot of times I say time. Anyways, yeah, that's going to be the next book. The next book I really like to read is The Queen of Sorrow by Sarah Beth Durst. I've already mentioned this in one of my past TBRs, but I had to take a break from it. The first 2 books were good, and I just needed a break from the series, so I'm excited to pick it up. I've talked about this series before, but very briefly, basically we live in a world where the people live in the trees, they live like in the nature very much so, and the nature hates the humans, and the nature manifests in the form of like physical spirits. These are like tree spirits, water spirits, air spirits. They hate the humans, they want to kill all the humans, but they're kept in control by the queen. And the queen, whenever she dies, has to be replaced by an heir. An heir is someone who has been trained to be the queen in waiting. And in this world, only women have the power to control the spirits, and only a very select few of the women have a power to control the spirits. So I really enjoyed the first book. I enjoyed the second book, and I'm excited to pick up the third book. So that's also on here. This is called The Fires of Vengeance. This is the second book after Evan Winter's debut novel, The Rage of Dragons, which is part of the Burning series. This is going to be his second novel, and I'm really excited for it. It's really interesting, but because it's the second, I don't want to give away any spoilers for those who haven't read Rage of Dragons. So basically, I'll just tell you a little bit about Rage of Dragons. That is about this guy named Tao. Tao is, you know, your normal guy who lives in a village. He just is training to be a typical guard for his small village, and ends up that a massive attack comes, and he ends up fighting, and he loses a lot of people that he loves, and due to a variety of reasons, not just the battle, and he ends up deciding to go and fighting for his honor, and he goes and he basically wins a lot of fights and ends up becoming a pretty respectable person, and he goes off to go train at this special place for where these people train to basically be the best and the best, the most elite group of fighters. And so his group go and train, and he becomes pretty extraordinaire. I don't want to say too much more for the plot, but it's very interesting. The magic system in this world is very unique. It's all like got a lot of like spiritual essence parts to it. And in this book, if you guys know, the end of the first book was quite climactic, so I'm excited to see what happened to Tao. I'm excited to see what happened to the world, and I am really looking forward to picking up the second book in this series. The next 2 books I'm hoping to pick up are the 5th and 6th book in the Invisible Library series. I've already talked about this series enough, so I'm not going to bore you guys, but basically we're going to revisit Irene, who's an agent of the library, and library is this mythical place, kind of like the Library of Alexandria, where Irene is an agent of, and she goes out to various different worlds to collect works of fiction from these worlds, and she's basically a spy / book thief, and we are going to continue visiting her as she continues to do her spy gig. For those who are more looking into the series, comment down below and ask me about it, or be sure to check out my video that I posted yesterday because we talked about it there. The next book I'm looking to check out is the first book in the Wizard of Earthsea series by Ursula Le Guin, I think is how you pronounce it. This is, I don't know anything about this actually. I do know there's a magic school involved, and that's pretty much all I know, but I do know it's a very popular series. I do believe it's considered young adult, but I'm looking forward to picking it up because I love the magical school trope, so this is also going to be on my TBR. My last 2 books on my TBR is going to be a reread of Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, so I can read Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline. I've heard very mixed opinions about this, and by mixed I mean mostly negative opinions, so I really want to read this, but in order so that I enjoy it to the utmost, I want to reread Ready Player One, which is basically for those who don't know, which I'd be surprised, it is about a guy who basically is in this challenge, and this challenge takes place in this virtual reality, fully immersive game where he has to compete against thousands of other people to basically win this challenge set out by the game's creator to basically win the rights to the game. And it's pretty intense. It has a lot of references to pop culture, especially 80s pop culture, and there's a lot of interesting things in it. I thought the book was good. The movie's pretty good. Of course, the book's better, but I want to reread it just so I have every little bit of information in my mind before I check out the second book. And that is my TBR. So I thank you guys so much for coming. If there's any books on here that you think are not worth my time, if there's any books on here that you think you also want to check out, if there's any books that I should have in my TBR this month, don't be as scared to comment down below what your thoughts are. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk. Let's chit chat. Yeah, let's do it. And don't forget, Jen, to email me at acouplebooks@gmail.com and we can discuss your book. And outside of that, I think that is everything for us today. But I'm looking forward to seeing you all in the next video. Okay, bye now.